There's two things that have been pivotal and are at the heart of being able to have moved through and journeyed with the dress. One is an open heart, which has been a process for me. The love is all around all the time. We've been blessed with universal love. It's in every moment and in every atom of our beings and all around us. But I feel like for me, it's about the dress and I being able to be vessels to bring that love out into the world, also to receive it. It's like we're breathing it. This is how I see the dress and I. And there are many people doing this work all over the world. We've got to a point now where we can be those vessels, having done so much work and had so many experiences. And that's a really blessed place to be in. It's just about keeping things really clear.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Empower World. And today I'm very excited. I got Kirstie Macleod, who created the red dress, and she started this journey 14 years ago. I think actually it might be a bit longer, but I'm going to introduce you to Kirsty, and she is going to tell you all about it. So Kirsty, tell me, did you get started on the red dress, and where did the idea come from?
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for having me on to share a little bit about the project. So, yeah, the project began in 2009 with a kind of singular intention at that point to try and bring people together from around the world to create cross-cultural dialogues, also celebrate identity, and this idea that this piece of work would evolve over time and place. So I set myself a target of 10 years, but obviously I had no idea whether the project would even be able to continue for that long, whether people would want to be involved, and how I would keep it going, produce it, all these kind of things. But it just came through so quickly. I was commissioned to create a new piece of work for a big art fair in Dubai. That's the initial starting point. And I was just given this funding ahead of even having an idea, which is completely back to front to how usually it happens. Usually you create your piece of art and then it could take you weeks, months, even years, even if you get it at all, funding. So to just be given this gift of cash basically just was completely staggering to me. And it just allowed me the space to dream and bring together all the things that were and are still the most important to me. So yeah, I went to a cafe straight away and just sketched out on a napkin the red dress. It just all came together in under a minute. My background is in fine arts, but also specifically in textiles. So my training was in textile design. I then did an MA in visual language. So that's my language. And I always work with textiles as the core, and I was producing films and installation pieces, performance art, all different kinds of things like that would be seen in galleries. And actually the red dress is number 7, maybe even 8 in a series of very large scale installations involving dresses.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it's very drawn to the motif of a dress as a way of representing a self, but also as a potent symbol of femininity.
When I was researching the red dress, I got quite emotional. It really, even now, I've done something about it.
Mm.
It, it just brings something to you, doesn't it? Heart opening. Just felt straight. I can't even describe it, how it just really, really reacted to it in such a beautiful way. And every woman has their story in the dress. And is it 360 women?
380. Oh, I should give you some stats. That's probably helpful
Yeah.
because there might be people listening that have never seen or heard of the dress. So the dress took 14 and a half years to create, and it involves the voices and stitches of 380 individuals from 51 countries, 367 women and girls, 11 men and boys, and 2 non-binary individuals. So that's the stitching, and that's the magic. That's the energy that you feel when you see or hear about the dress. It's all those stories, all those intentions. When you imagine that every single stitch on the dress, and there's probably, I reckon, between 1 and 1.5 billion stitches on the dress, every single one of those stitches has an intention and an energy and a meaning and a communication. And when you build up that quantity of voice and experience and wisdom and energy, it's really powerful. It's a really powerful thing. About 65% of the embroiderers are vulnerable women living as either refugees. There are survivors from conflict and abuse and trauma, conflict-related sexual violence. There are women living in extreme poverty. So for those individuals, the dress has more impact and has more meaning, because the dress can be a platform for them to share their voices, and then it's up to me to get their stories out into the world. And after maybe 3 or 4 years into the project, I began to steer intentionally the dress towards charities and individuals where I could help amplify or shine a light on important issues or stories. And that's when the magic really began to happen, when it was kind of leaving the art gallery setting, which it was in for the first few years, and actually just getting out into the world and making a difference, amplifying and also raising awareness. Like, a lot of the experiences the dress and I have had, particularly with the survivors, was bringing news to people that had no idea these things had actually even happened, because we're only told what we're told.
Yeah.
The news and the media gives us an impression of things, but actually it's not always the case. So I've been very motivated to do a lot of that, particularly like with survivors. But it's been extraordinary. It
Oh,
really has.
and isn't it 52 countries?
51
51.
countries. Yeah.
Wow. Did you go the journey to go all those to every single one of those countries with the dress? That must have been the stories, the adventure, the heartbreak, the peace, the healing that you brought to all these women. It's just so, what a gift you gave them.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just say that for the first 11 years of the project, there was no funding really. So it wasn't me going out to the countries, it was me sending a panel in the post. So it was only since 2020, for the last few years of the project, where I could actually afford to go to
Yeah.
places myself. However, the big intention that I'm now moving through is to go back to all of the commissioned embroiderers, to meet them, to hug them, to tell their story, to their country, and to organize an exhibition of their own work alongside the red dress in their chosen venue in their own country. So I'm about halfway through doing that now. So we've been to, reconnect with, when I say we, I mean the dress and I, we've been to connect with, the embroiderers in Mexico and Kosovo and Egypt. And that's just the most extraordinary gift, is when I've actually managed to meet someone, who I've been in touch with for
Yeah.
possibly 16 years by now. And for them to have their moment with the dress, see their work in the dress as well.
I bet it's really overwhelming for them. Do they burst out? It just,
Yeah, often very quiet and not knowing how to interact with me or the dress, to be honest. It feels very, I mean, it is unfamiliar to anyone, but as soon as I begin to share stories from the dress, and of course show them where their work is on the dress, and also my job is to hold a very nourishing, warm space for everyone that comes into contact with the dress. I'm not a therapist, but I do need to, and I want to be able to hold space. So yeah, a few minutes in, it all becomes a lot more fluid and easy, and then often lots of tears. And it's, I think, for the embroiderers who have had that experience so far, it's seeing their work within this greater whole and feeling those connections to women particularly, but men and non-binary individuals as well, but feeling those connections to people all over the world through this dialogue on the dress. And maybe they will never meet in person, but through the garment, there's this beautiful kind of dialogue, certainly, but also comfort, support, like people that have been through similar things, standing side by side together. And it can be very overwhelming for me as well, and I know the dress inside out, and I'm with her all the time. But for me, I'm often in tears, and I've done a huge amount of self-work. I've needed to be able to hold the project, because it can be so triggering and so difficult, but also so joyful and so rewarding, and a privilege. Ultimately, it's a huge privilege to be able to do this work.
why the color red?
Because you can't ignore red. You're
Yeah.
wearing it, red everywhere. It's a color of so much power, isn't it? And it's also
Yeah.
associated to very important human emotions like rage and anger, but also love and passion. It's blood, it's women's cycles, it's war. For me, it was the color that best signified like this primal voice, the human voice at this time. And I've never regretted it or wished I'd chosen any other color. And it's a particular shade. It's not,
Yeah.
this is bright red. It's a burgundy red, and it's got black in the fabric. So it has this depth to it. And it's really the color of blood. Yeah.
Wow, it's so beautiful. Every so I'll listen to a little YouTube video, and then each of your students, you started with your students when you were a tutor, and then you went back at the end with different students. That's such a beautiful story, how you
Yes.
brought it back into a circle. And I loved how the fact they every single one of them chose something personal to them about what represents them in the dress, and that sort of made it to me, and then it made me think about all the other women around the world, what they went through, and how what they symbolize, their symbols that they stitched into the dress, and how powerful that is. Could you tell me more about that?
So the brief to all of the embroiderers was the same. It was to create a piece of work that would articulate the embroiderer's identity and the culture that they're from. But that was it. So people went about creating in all manner of ways. Some chose very traditional stitches, maybe passed down from their particular family or village or town community. Some of them you can even locate specifically the exact town they're from what they've stitched, like in South America, for instance, in different countries there. Others chose very simple stitches to convey very powerful experiences and dreams, beliefs. But yeah, so each communication, each of the 380 pieces on the dress is this communication of self, or of experience, of identity. So it's not just like, drawing any old thing. Each has a complete meaning, whether it's something that their grandmother left to them, or a memory from the war, or a particular animal or bird that means the world to them, or even the name of a loved one that's been passed. So every story, every stitch, every piece, has its own unique story. So with the Royal School of Needlework cycle, as you say, there are so many cycles and circles in this project, but that was a really beautiful one. I used to tutor there. I used to tutor the foundation students creative practice, not embroidery, but creative practice as a whole. And they all stitched on the dress in 2010. And then as part of a big exhibition at the Fashion Textile Museum with the Royal School of Needlework, the dress and I went in for a day, and every single student and a handful of the staff all worked on the dress. It was incredible. I think we did 6 at a time with hour slots. So it was just absolutely this crazy and very exciting dynamic day of just so much stitching. But obviously they're all like pretty professional almost, they've got a lot of skill. So it was the standards very high. But yeah, so you'll see peppered around the edge of the skirt all the small motifs that have been added by people at events or exhibitions, but they're generally very small and done in an hour, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's all sorts of lovely things there from them.
Honor for the dress to go into all those museums and exhibitions around the world, like that, you must be so proud of yourself to achieve that, because that's not an easy feat.
Well, the first 11 years of the project were really hard. No one really wanted, there was a little bit of interest. There were a couple of exhibitions, there was a bit of press, but really it didn't have the momentum, and there was no money coming in. It was done on the side of whatever else I was doing, mainly teaching yoga. So yeah, that was how it was for so long. And then it's extraordinary to me now, the momentum that the dress does have. And all really came to a head in 2020, I think largely because of the pandemic, because we were all separated and anxious and fearful and alone and terrified and scared. There was this kind of, global anxiety. We were also inside a lot and online. And exactly at this point, unbeknownst to me, a blogger called Attire's Mind wrote about the dress, and his post went viral. I had no idea who he was or about this post. All I knew was that my inbox was just pinging for like 3 days with press requests, museums getting in touch. I was like, what on earth is going on? Brilliant, but like what? Also at that point, I just managed to get my first grant from the Arts Council, which was incredible. And it changed everything because I could get a website, and I could get various bits of tech that I needed, and I could make this short film about the project. So suddenly it was like I could have access and reach. So that was 2020. And then from that moment on, everything's just been completely incredible in terms of the abundance that comes in. I don't really look out and reach out so much. It's just everything that comes in. So I feel like my job is to just keep that space clear and nourished, and obviously, maintain and conserve the dress. That's a huge one. And just allow, she knows what she's doing. Like, I don't feel that it's me with making, organizing this dress. It's really not that anymore. It's me holding space and guiding from the back. It really isn't me at the front. So she's got her own intentions and motivations, and she's got her magic. And so, yeah, for me, it's really about just holding space for her. And when I realized that, that's when everything, really became a lot more fluid and flowy and abundant. But yeah, the museum exhibitions are fantastic. as well as the exposure, the access that it creates, the reach. Because, you know, some of these museums they're pulling through, you know, over 20,000 people.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it's phenomenal. Also, they pay an exhibition fee. So this is like now a way that the project is now beginning to
Yeah.
bring in money, not only for the project, but also for the embroiderers. So they get an annual
Oh,
commission
wow.
embroidery.
Well, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Now so their lives are changing with the dress.
Yeah, and I think as long as the dress and I are out there, they should be compensated because it's,
Yeah.
you know, they're all part of it. So yeah, as long as the dress is out touring an exhibition, that they'll continue to get money. Also, they can sell their work through the online shop, and often, you know, I just try and promote them at all avenues, and often press people want to speak to them, and they can, you know, speak about their practice and everything as well. So it's just like all the time trying to just use the dress as a way to lift and amplify because of, you know, the blessing that she has now got this power and this presence.
She gives empowerment to women who never had the voice to do it for themselves, and for the first time now they've got the voice to step out to be who they're meant to be. They're giving them the courage. Wow.
I think it was interesting because a lot of them really struggled with the brief because they're like, what do you mean we can just stitch anything we want to? Like, can you tell me what to stitch? I was like, no, this is the point. It's like your voice. It's like, what do you want to share with the world? What do you want the world to know? And that is a process, you know, for a
Yeah.
lot of people. So I think that was in some cases very transformative. And then I think for the others, a lot of the others, it's this knowledge that their voice is out there in the world, and maybe they are in a position where they really are not going. They haven't got any options to leave the country or even the town that they're in, but their voice and their work is out there and is traveling the world and is also part of this community of 380, which is a really lovely kind of comforting thing.
Do they all talk to each other? Are they all connected now, and is there like a little community for them, like no one else can, you know, just for them to reach out to each other?
I wouldn't say entirely. I mean, for instance, all the Somerset ones, yeah, that they're definitely in touch. I'm in touch with them all, you know, every year with their funds and often with like when I was doing the website, when I was doing the book. So I'm in touch with all of the embroiderers quite regularly. But no, as you were saying that, I was thinking maybe I should set up a WhatsApp group. Some of the individuals are, you know, not that interested in being involved
Yeah.
in the project in that way. Some of them are very interested. A lot of them are supported by charities, so I don't have direct links to them. It's to the charity supporters. So it's not kind of very
Not
clear
that
cut.
correct. Yeah.
But yeah, I have lovely memories and videos in some instances of when I was talking about particular panels of the address to other women and recording that and that kind of response to what they were seeing. And then I asked a few of them, which one do you feel the most connected to? And then I did a video of them responding to that particular woman, which is really special. Yeah.
And then you've brought the dress into to showcase it in different places out of the expeditions and galleries. You said I read I saw one video or something I saw somewhere you said that was really important for you to take it out of that so you can reach people that wouldn't have access to it, those
Yes.
galleries. And what was the process and the thought that made you decide to do that?
Yeah, just like the growing awareness that not everyone can access a museum. And actually, you know, having connected with individuals to embroider on the dress, I realized more and more the importance of making the project accessible to everybody and for there not to be a border or a boundary anywhere. So yeah, I managed to get some funding to go and take the dress, arrive with a projector and the dress to lots of different spaces around the UK. So charity groups, that anyone that couldn't access a mainstream gallery. So connected with a community in Bath called Deaf Plus, so visually impaired and deaf individuals, those with complex needs, deaf individuals in Birmingham, and a charity called Sense. So, and also refugees, asylum seekers in different places. So yeah, anyone that there was an issue with language or access. And I would work with BSL interpreters, art therapists, anyone where I could feel I needed support to be able to deliver the project in the best way possible. And it was so interesting to me to figure out new ways of creating access. Yeah, so obviously for the visually impaired, it was a lot of touch, which is usually there's like very strict rules with touching the dress, but obviously for that it went out the window. So I was able to describe, the colors that they were feeling, and the story, and where it had been created, and create this really kind of sensory experience. And then for some of the deaf individuals, I had access to something called a sub pack, which turns sound into vibrations. So I could play music that the Bedouin women were dancing around the dress to in the Sinai Desert, and they were able to feel it through vibrations in this thing that they were wearing. So yeah, things that I would never think of, but have just been so extraordinary. And that's an ongoing thing. Like if I ever can connect with any group, and when I do museum exhibitions, I always say, can we do some outreach? Can we organize for some kind of event that's just for a particular group, vulnerable group, just to kind of keep the access. And particularly because there are so many like-minded voices in the dress. So often, for instance, if refugees or asylum seekers come and see the dress, that's a big thing. So many other individuals going through the same thing. So yeah, it's important, very important.
And it gives that person a light bulb moment or courage to do what they need to do in their lives, isn't it? By seeing what someone else has gone through, what they went through in the red dress, which is so beautiful. I was also thinking when you were saying about when people can't see the dress and they're feeling each stitch. I suppose each stitch has got a different feel to it and a different texture, and how that would feel. Do you know what I mean? And then that itself is telling them a different story that you might not actually, they get something completely different out of it, don't they? And then, and then the sound as well. That's powerful, isn't it? Just the whole sound with the dress, and wow. And I think that also makes, with the sound, with the vibrations, the energy will make the colours brighter. I don't know why, but or it stands out more in different ways, gives it more depth. Yeah, I can see that.
And when you think about all these events and experiences and exhibitions, and everything is all imbued, all that energy is imbued. I've been blessed to see Ukrainian refugees singing while stitching into the dress. Their voices are collected in the fabric. The Bedouin women dancing around the dress, as I said, under the stars, banging tribal music. That's all in the dress. Stitching in a Mexican, little cottage on the side of a mountain with goats. It's all there. And I think that's part of the enormous energy and presence that the dress radiates.
And I suppose that's also why it's so important for the dress to carry on traveling and seeing the world in different connections of different women, because that brings the dress more energy and more story, doesn't it?
Yes.
And then that's what it's there for, and that's what it needs to do for its generations of life. It will never stop. Can you fit any more stitches on it?
No, it was all completed you could, but no, the project was finished in 2023 for many reasons. No, I think it's over a quarter of the world is represented on the fabric. And of course, there's a part of me that would have been like, oh yeah, let's do the whole world. Let's do another, 30 years on it. But I felt in my heart of hearts, I was like, no, this part of the project needs to draw to a close now. And then I launched the Calico Garment Initiative, which I don't know if you know about. Simplified versions of the red dress and also a cloak, and it's made in calico fabric, which is a lot more affordable than silk. And they are offered to various groups, organizations, venues to create their own collaborative garment with their own community. So there are currently 16 around the world being made. So there's one in South Africa traveling around, there's one in India. There's a cloak being made up in Ecuador, up in the Andes, where they're reviving ancient, like traditional heritage techniques with textiles, and they've dyed theirs with the shanshi berry, so it's like beautiful bright pink color. So I don't manage these; I set them up. Yeah, my collaborator Gail and I, she's the incredible couturier stitch guru who helped me make the red dress. She creates these, we design the garments, and then she creates them up either in pieces or is a sewn finished garment, and then we just deliver and say, here you go. And then I push it through all the social media channels of the red dress and the website. They have their own pages on the website. So even though the dress is finished, there are now all these kind of
The
sister
extra
other
garment,
garments.
beautiful. So one
Yeah,
day you could bring the dress and the garments to meet together. And
that's happening in 2029 in
oh
Massachusetts. There's
wow.
going to be a 7 month exhibition out there with with all the garments. Hopefully there'll be about 20 by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be incredible.
It would be incredible. And you can match the dress with it. So the dress starts to have its own character, extra character. That means she can change herself.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, well,
I
and
don't know where that came from.
they all look so different as well. They're all, I mean, yeah, they're all exactly the same garments, cloak or dress,
Yeah.
obviously, but the way that they are being worked on and being dyed in some instances,
Yeah.
they're just completely different. You wouldn't even know that they were the same starting point.
Oh wow.
Mm.
That is so beautiful. So it carries on
Yeah.
like yeah, that's such a beautiful wow. Wow. I'm actually speechless. Oh, so what so what's your plans with the dress next year? Is carry on traveling with the dress and
Yeah. So up until 2030, she's pretty much solidly booked now. So it's
yeah.
different museums and spaces around the world. So next year we are in Geneva, France, Holland, Australia, and Rwanda. I have kids, so it has to all be meticulously planned. And actually, they're coming with me for a few of the trips with my parents, which will be brilliant. The next year, we're doing a couple of exhibitions. I can't remember, we've got Isle of Man, and then I think one in Devon. And then she heads off to America for 2 years,
Wow.
and Canada, 5 different museum exhibitions. And then the last one of those is the big one with the Calico Garments. And then she comes back to the UK end of 2029, and then I'm going to retire her. So,
Oh,
yeah, I'm working on that now, the venue that I'm going to retire her into. It'll be in the UK, so it's a huge process for me, obviously, to go through this
yeah.
and just trying to work out what's possible. Like, can she be on permanent display somewhere, or
Yeah.
is it an exhibition and then does she have to go into storage but can be accessed and lent out to different places, or is she actually going to be just completely still? So that's all very uncertain. I've got time, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm initiating.
Quite an emotional thing for you to do as well to
Massive.
make
Yeah.
yeah, that's sort of a lot of grief there, I expect.
Yeah, I think I imagine that it's going to be like when your child leaves home a little bit,
Yeah.
which I haven't gone through yet. But I think it's a mixture of such like gratitude and excitement and exhilaration and like, there was so much struggle with this project, honestly. Like it's the fact that it's that feeling of like, okay, I've managed to complete the mission, that I set out to do. So there's that. But yeah, totally. I'm sure there'll be loads of grief and yeah, just kind of, yeah, loss and yeah, it's going to be a really interesting process. And also the big thing is, how involved am I staying? Like, am I literally releasing her to a museum and that's it? Go and see her a few times, a few months, or am I actively connected
Yeah.
and helping to curate my leading workshops and presentations from the museum? Like, there's so much uncertainty at this point. I'm still figuring it out in my own head. But I mean, I would imagine I'll be working with the dress on some level for the rest of my life. I mean, I do a huge amount of presentations, and at the moment I'm locked in to a huge amount of preservation and documentation. So the book, which was released this year in May, was a real labor of love, and that's been a huge part of the project. It's had a lot of really positive impact, and that's been completely incredible. Next year is going to be focusing on the digital archive of all the embroidery.
Oh
We're
wow.
working with Bath Spa University on that. And then there'll be the film. So there's three
Wow.
short films already, but there's going to be like a
A big
full feature length film. So far, there's 200 hours of footage collected since
oh
2020.
wow.
So we've got a few more
Yeah.
years of very exciting exhibitions to film. So I would imagine that will be edited in kind of 2029, 2030. So lots to do.
Wow. A lot of planning. You're away.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Yeah,
That's an
it's weird.
achievement in itself.
They don't make calendars far enough in advance.
Yeah.
I actually need like, yeah, 5 years worth of calendar, and I can only get two. Make my own.
When you're in that cafe and you're drawing it on a napkin, did you ever thought it would be this big and this long, and this journey that you've been on with this beautiful red dress?
Yeah, not even at all. I mean, I aimed for 10 years. So yes, I knew there was going to be a length of time, but I had absolutely no idea what the dress would become. I mean, really at the beginning, it wasn't a fine art piece in a gallery, which is very different to what she is now. So no, the dress has evolved so much over time and place, as I have, and we've woven and grown together in all these extraordinary ways. But no, I'm just continuously like blown away by what's happened. And I think it really was as soon as I could step back and just allow the space and just know that she's on this mission. That was when it just really took off. I mean, literally, I'm just like to my parents, oh my gosh, guess what happened today? And then this happened, and guess where we've been invited to? And they're just like, what? Because they've seen me through all the struggle, they've seen me through all the uncertainty, and I think we're very confused for quite a few of those years what I was even doing and why I would keep going. So yeah, it's incredible. Just feel really grateful.
What was the biggest lesson she taught you?
That's such a good question. Lots of things coming to mind. I'm just going to sit with it for a second just to try and get the number one. I think it's got to be about the power of connection. Just how similar we all are is a big thing. Even though our circumstance and our environments and our livelihoods and experiences and traumas and all these things are very different. Of course, that's I would never compare in that way, but our core fundamental needs are pretty much the same. We want to love and be loved. We want to be safe. We want to be able to provide for our loved ones. We want to be able to eat and sleep. Anything else is outside. Those core fundamental needs we all share, and we can all connect through that and with that. The power of connection is absolutely extraordinary. Like the healing, the empowerment, the kind of recognizing of self and identity and purpose, this is all through connection. One of the most important aspects of being human, I think, is that we have community, whether it's how big or how small. But for instance, I'm thinking about the group in Rwanda and DR Congo. These are widows of war who have been through absolute hell. And they have been brought together by an amazing initiative called Kirstie, which is based in Belgium, which creates safe spaces for these women to come to. They are trained in very, very fine needlework. So they're given regular employment, they have income. They're also given loans to buy their own houses. So they're completely empowered and strong. But actually, the most important part of this initiative is that they have each other. So they're sitting shoulder to shoulder with other women who have been through similar, and they understand the trauma and everything. The piece that they created is called From Darkness to Light, and it very, very clearly, like, it's one of the most powerful pieces of art I've ever seen. It shows this healing journey, but it's the relationships with the other women, that are at the heart of that. To support, to love, to share, to uplift. This is all crucial for human.
And I think it's coming more and more important as we go through, like in the days where, even more. I think it's that union of us all coming together, and we're not different. And I think too much division going on in the world. I suppose the red dress is one of its powers, is to show the world that actually we need to come together.
Definitely.
Wow. I was so blessed to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Wow. What advice would you give anyone to finish the podcast if they have a similar idea that you have and they're not sure? What advice would you give that person, just in case they're listening?
I think the single most important, there's two things that have been pivotal and are at the heart of being able to have moved through and journeyed with the dress. One is an open heart, which has been a process for me. I was dealing with a huge amount of self-worth issues and my own, stuff going on, but getting to a place where I now feel the love is all around all the time. We've been blessed with universal love. It's in every moment and in every atom of our beings and all around us. So that's there. But I feel like for me, it's about the dress and I being able to be vessels to bring that love out into the world, also to receive it. It's that we're breathing it. This is how I see the dress and I. And there are many people doing this work all over the world. This is not like it's a unique thing to us. But we've got to a point now where we can be those vessels, having done so much work and had so many experiences. And that's a really blessed place to be in. It's just about keeping things really clear. So, yeah, open heart. And the other one is determination, definitely. So, there were plenty of times where I could have stopped because it was just so difficult to keep things going. Funding's been a really ongoing struggle. To be honest, I'm in a lot of debt even now because it's not a lucrative career at all. But it's one of the most abundant jobs I think I could ever imagine. Like, it just brings me so much happiness and joy. But yeah, I think a lot of people would think I'm crazy because, why would you want to have debt? Well, because this is more important and I'll figure it out. Yeah, it'll all work out. So yeah, open heart and determination.
Life, there's more to life than debt.
It's just energy. It's just this, and it's
hate that is
completely man-made, and it's just about, I feel this, it's just about reconfiguring some energy, and I will, I'm doing it, and it will all be fine. But when I think about it now, actually I think, well, actually I'm really grateful for my credit card because it's allowed me to be able to do this work. Thank you HSBC or wherever for having that facility, because now it's given me this kind of in between space to be able to carry on, and then I'll fill it all up again. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it will be. I think that's what stops people from following their dreams, and it's important that you mention that, because if you let that stop you from doing what's important, then you're missing the point of life.
Yeah. I often see things online about people who are in their last stages of life and things that they would pass on to younger people. And there's nothing about material things in there. There's nothing about wealth. It's all about connections and relationships and making the most of every day and loving yourself. Oh my God, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? We have to have that before we can do anything else.
And I think that's the hardest thing, is learning to love yourself. And that's what the dress is about, isn't it? It's learning to love yourself and stepping out of the shadow and into your power.
Yeah.
And that's the gift that you're giving all these women, and anyone who sees it or touches it or comes in contact with it in any way. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it loads for your time.